What's up, everybody? Welcome to Fonecallz.
Then you don't sound. We have one of our good friends on here. You don't sound enthused at all about him.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Fonecallz.
Now you sound like you're doing an excited thing, but you're purposefully like lowering your volume to not like wake somebody up in the next room.
Trying to make sure I don't spike the levels.
Hello?
Taylor Russ, our good buddy. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Hello.
Taylor is a direct. Well, he's many things, but for us, he has been a great friend, funny guy, and director of photography extraordinaire.
Taylor has single-handedly shot, so many sketches.
Yeah, we don't need to put a number on it, that kind of cheapens the whole thing.
Well, Taylor is definitely, not only has he shot a lot of sketches, he shot It's All Good. He's been the backbone of a lot of F&D productions and wore a lot of hats because a lot of times we'll go to Taylor and we'll say, we want to shoot something. And Taylor will be like, okay, great. And we'll be like, oh, can you do the lighting and all the chords and electric and shoot it too and storyboard? And Taylor does it all. And we're very grateful for all of his help.
And sometimes we're like, because it's comedy sketches and we're getting multiple takes, Taylor throws out lines.
And
Taylor is like a writer as well.
I feel as though we mesh together very well. And when you're on a roll, every once in a while, just an idea pops in my head. Half time they're dog shit, they don't make the cut. That's all good,
That's everybody, Tayller. That's all of us.
I'm not speaking down on myself. It's your fault that shit didn't get in as gold, but you have your
just
preferences.
Delivering gold over
here. It's none of my business. I'm not here to police taste, but we all know where everyone stands on that. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate the kind words. The backbone. That's an important bone. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, well, Vin's the tailbone.
We all know that.
Cooper's the funny bone.
Right.
I'm the brain bone.
Yeah, we all know about the brain bone. Lives inside of the brain. Very elusive. Did you know that koalas have smooth brains? That's just kind of an unrelated fact, but I thought that was funny.
Whoa, really?
Yeah, and they got big, thick fucking skulls because they fall out of trees all the time because they're essentially fucked up 24/7 since they only eat eucalyptus. And eucalyptus is very poisonous. So that's why they're always sleepy and grumpy and falling out of trees. Yeah, they also sound really wild. You should look up how they sound. Have you ever heard a koala call?
No, I didn't.
I'm going to do an impression. It's basically like black metal pig vocals where they just go, oi, 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 oi. They're like really scary sounding animals.
That's really what they sound like?
Yeah. When they're pissed, But yeah,
that's cool.
The smooth brain.
We were just talking about smooth brains on our last episode because for humans, smooth brain is not a good thing because it would indicate that you're not intelligent.
Nuh-uh. Smooth brain is cute. It is, no feelings, no thoughts. It's pretty good deal, actually.
So
yeah, I guess ignorance is bliss,
Yeah, if there was a way to iron the brain, I might be on that test trial.
Do you take enough ecstasy?
Oh boy!
Take a time machine to the '90s and go party, go clubbing.
I'm on SSRIs. If I take ecstasy, I could be dead. Is this how these usually go? I feel like I fully derailed the whole
no, this
momentum.
Is good.
No,
okay,
man,
good.
This is good stuff.
Okay,
absolutely good.
Thank God. But yeah, I really appreciate all the kind words, y'all. It's been a joy to work with y'all on so many different things, many of which we half the time didn't know what the fuck we were doing when we went in, and we were just like, okay, yeah, for sure. That one baseball shoot where they were like, we have to shoot 1,000 frames per second, and I was like,
oh yeah,
I don't know how much light that takes. That seems like a whole bunch. Let me do a bunch of quick research, and then we shot at 125 frames a second. They were like, whoa. That's so slow. Yeah. I'm like, yeah, at 1,000, you'd see him changing his grip slightly, and the whole clip would be 45 minutes. It's not gonna, you mitigate expectations. Yeah. You figure it out.
That's a good point. We've worked together on a lot of commercial work as well. But separately, I mean, you should tell people kind of like, your career apart from F&D, because I mean, you've worked on so much amazing stuff. You do a lot
Thanks,
of Rebecca
man.
Black music videos lately. Dorian Electra.
Yeah. I have a lot of fun with that crew. It's, I moved to LA in 2017, and I was kind of forced to get better at what I do because, like, upon touchdown, I immediately saw just like so much skill and ability at all levels, and I used to make excuses for myself why my stuff didn't look a certain way is because I didn't have the resources, and there's a part of that can be true, but like most of the point is like, you can make whatever look great if you just know kind of how to do it. So anyways, yeah, so I learned from a lot of really excellent people as well. Like I've been very lucky to have
Roger
so many,
Deakins took you
from
under his
Mr.
wing,
Deakins, yeah, my neighbor. I live in the hills. I'm really wealthy. I kind of just do this for fun. And I try to break something really expensive each time and pretend like I'm a poor guy. And then I'm like, it's all good. I got $100,000. Here you go. Sorry, I punched the lens. And usually I'll do that at lunch, so it kind of derails the whole day. But this bit's going on too long. Anyways, so yeah, I do a lot of music videos. Lately, a bit less because I'm trying to kind of like move out of that world. It's a little bit brutal, but I've been lucky to have a lot of collaborators that like value time and effort and all this stuff that goes into it, F&D included. I wear a lot of hats, but when it's for people that I care about, that also I understand we're aiming high and don't always have everything that we need. You always just try to give the most. And there's a lot of nice sneaky ways to make something look expensive when it's not. A lot of these Dorian Electra videos, you pan the camera left or right an inch and the whole thing falls apart. It's like built around a frame. So like, it's just a lot of fun, scrappy stuff, but like it comes out with a good, I figured out how to work in that world. And, I think we've made a lot of really striking stuff. And again, I'm so grateful for my collaborators that have these batshit ideas that they're, like, hey, how do we do this? And I'll be like, I don't know, let's figure it out. And yeah. So I've had a lot of wonderful creative outlets here in LA that I've been very grateful to have, and it's been a lot of fun. It's a lot of work. It's always a lot of work, but it's been a lot of fun.
I'm going to use this as the perfect segue to the Daniels, who did Everything Everywhere All at Once, which we're talking about today. I was watching an interview with them, and they talked about, because they got their start in, well, I don't know if they got their start in, but they became known for their music videos.
Yeah, the Turn Down for What video blew them up, and they were saying how that was very low budget. Like the punching boobs were someone standing behind the actor with boxing gloves on under the shirt, and like the moving dick thing was just like a mop pole. It's like it looks so good, but it's done on very scrappy terms, and I think that's some of the coolest stuff.
Yeah, so and a lot of those scrappy techniques they employed even for the film they just did, which is incredible because the effects in it are amazing. And I think, it's like blockbuster level stuff, but I think they had a team of like 5 people doing the effects.
Yeah. I watched the video on that.
I saw that. Yeah, their editing team was very small and put up with a lot of intense work as well. But that movie, it's one of the best movies I've seen in probably a decade, easily. It's just incredibly imaginative, and I just knowing that they do things outside of their scale often, it just doesn't even read like this would have any kind of budgetary issues. The way they pulled it off was just so wildly creative.
So before we jump into it, we should just disclaimer, we're going to be talking extensively about Everything Everywhere All at Once. So
Big
spoilers, obviously.
Big spoilers. Now the air horn, thank you. Air horn goes in there. So,
but yeah, let's start. Like, I never know where to start when like discussing films, but Taylor, that's an interesting point. So,
I just want to say real quick that
please.
when you sum this movie up, in my opinion, it's a sci-fi kung fu movie about intergenerational trauma, and that's the fucking craziest thing. That they pulled that off effectively, and it has emotional resonance as well as, all the wild visuals and everything that goes along with it. That's what really like anchors it so well, is that it there's clearly some heavily held truth behind it that comes through, and it feels authentic and genuine in this completely batshit environment. And I think that's like one of my favorite things ever, and that's why I love comedy in particular so much, is that all the best comedies are grounded in like real drama. That's like, it's still the thing. And then when you make it a comedy, and then you make it like a meta comedy like this one, it's just like, it just resonates in different ways because people are caught off guard by thinking that, I think there's a lot of thought around comedy that it's a lower genre. But I think if you can effectively make people laugh, catch them off guard, and then throw something that's really resonant in there as well. I mean, not even throw something, but a through line of a really, a deep thing. I think that's what makes the best comedies, and I think the best movies. I mean, even the Coen brothers, they do that masterfully. With a little bit less wild than Daniels, but like that combination is just so, I think it's incredibly powerful.
Comedy, obviously as a genre, but it can be used as a technique to disarm the audience. And I think that's why it was so important in this film, is that, like you're saying, that resonance is felt because, like everything was heartfelt in it.
Yeah, and you can go into like a heavy drama, kind of jaded, or like, expecting somebody to make you feel a certain way, and if you don't quite get there, then it's like it doesn't quite hit as much. And people going into comedies have a much different state of mind and more receptive, I think.
It kind of this is going to sound like pretentious, but to me it transcends like a comedy genre, because it's not like a classic. I wouldn't say classic, but like there's really little setup punchline. It's just such an insane concept.
It's no 50 First Dates.
Yeah, it's not a Judd Apatow or like movie or like something with Will Ferrell where it's like they literally could have made an entire other film just using the alt takes of like all the improv they were doing. It's like
yeah.
Yeah, it's so the idea is so wacky, and the characters are trying to stay grounded that it's going to naturally be funny without having to do like the typical setup punchline.
Yeah, exactly. I only
agree.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, Taylor.
I was gonna say I only called it a comedy because it's just wildly funny. It's not. I don't think that that's the draw of it, but like that's just something that comes through. And it's similar to Swiss Army Man, their last feature, where, I mean, that one was a little bit more straightforward comedy initially, at least in the marketing. So, like, it's a farting corpse that can do anything, which is also just a wild concept that they've managed to make a whole movie about. But yeah, what were you going to say, Aaron?
Oh, I was just going to say that it's definitely not set up punchline, but the comedy involved is definitely on the absurd scale. Just some stuff being sophomoric, and that's, I don't want to say that like as a bad thing, but like in the fight scene, them fighting over butt plugs and
Yeah,
literally
exactly.
cannonballing into them, for instance.
Yeah, that was a highlight. Yeah.
Or
Yeah,
when
it's pretty
Joy's
intentional.
character is swinging around huge dildos during her fight choreography. But it like works within it because the realm in which the film inhabits, it's like so. It works. You're already dealing with this fun meta take on the multiverse, which I feel like we've seen so many times now with Marvel, and now it's like kind of like satirizing it, but in a weird way. It's like it's working because it's fun, and they're building their own kind of context out of how it works.
Exactly. I really appreciated the rules that they built in there.
and how they trickled him out, was like really smart as far as the writing was concerned. The first time that you see Ki Kwan's character, Alpha Raymond, undo the chapstick and just like eat it, you're like, what the hell? Like, what was that? And then to see it build and understand like why, they talk about it, I thought it was really cool how they kind of like dose you a little bit. You're
Oh,
like,
yeah,
you're gonna get a little
You're
shock
like,
value.
Why is she putting her feet or her shoes on the wrong feet? It's like, okay, I guess I'll just see where this goes,
Oh, and then the paper cut thing between the fingers.
Oh my God, everybody hated that. But like, I thought that was like, I thought that device was like really beautifully implemented, both in that it allowed for like endless opportunities of comedy, but also, they had a sound enough reasoning behind it, and they didn't over explain that in a way that's like, and like the grounded methods for which they primed for their jumps, I think kept it from feeling like hokey sci-fi, and it kind of brought it back into the world, where it's just like, you do a thing that you would never do, so it throws off the calibration, and then you can make the jump, and I think that's just like, and also that they give them like set actions that they can do. Like there's a couple of options to reach this certain jumping pad. I thought that was really, it plays into the drama of the fight scene, the intensity, because they're trying to complete these bizarre activities in order to jump. But like, to me, it never felt contrived, but I think it's like you were saying, Aaron, they like trickled it in until you're in this whole wild world, and you're like, wow, okay. I guess that's like how it works, It's like they didn't.
Quick, Taylor, you got to jump. What are you going to do? Right now, you got to jump. What are you doing?
Oh, Jesus.
Look around the room. I need you to got to do it now.
What do I physically need to do to jump into that? Okay.
You don't have to physically do it. I'm just saying, explain to us.
I think I'd have to swallow my vape and then blow smoke rings out my ass.
Cool. Quick,
I think
Aaron,
that's a little beyond what the movie demands, but
maybe I'll try and take this screwdriver and pierce my ear with it.
Oh my God. What about you, Vin?
I'm going to take my phone and swallow it.
You can't do swallow. I already did that.
That's dang it.
I already jumped into that angle.
I'm gonna call 911 and sing "Happy Birthday" to the operator.
Okay, there we go. That one works.
I could buy that.
Yeah, that's not something you would do, but it's almost something you would do. Because Vin's just a sweet guy.
I love that scene where she has to finally buy into, like, Evelyn, Michelle Yeoh's character, has to like go there. She has to profess her love.
Oh my God, yes.
Deidre, and she is like down on her knees, and Jamie Lee Curtis is coming at her with that flying knee. I thought that was done so well.
Right.
And it's like inches away from her nose. It was cool.
That's what I'm saying, is like that fight choreography is pure kung fu. And I just fucking love that, because you don't see a lot of American kung fu movies.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And done well too. That felt like a healthy mix of like specialty shots, but also like longer takes that let the action play out.
Exactly. That's what I'm talking about. That's the kind of stuff on like a camera level that like people don't do in American cinema, but is very popular in a lot of Eastern cinema, especially in the kung fu genre. Is just because the impressiveness of the feats come from that they are actually performing them, whereas in America it's like, yeah, cut 5 times on one punch, and then you're just like, what the fuck happened? But like, you really feel the impacts on those kind of longer takes, and like that's when I in the theater was just like, oh shit, this is like,
it's that Liam Neeson clip from
oh my God, yeah,
exactly. It's like the 20 cuts when he jumps over the fence.
Mans was too old to jump a fence, just don't do it. It's not more intense that way. It's just like you get sucked out of it, and I think that's like what a lot of American action does, is they do all these things that are intended to that are intended to create like chaos and impact and wild action, but then you just feel none of it, so you end up like, I end up anyways. I have trouble watching action movies. I enjoy stupid movies as much as anybody, but like, I have trouble being entertained by action movies because I just zone out. I'm like, this is like hard to follow visually.
Oh yeah, it's an art to actually do it well and make it engaging, and yeah, I agree.
Yeah, definitely. And like speaking of the visuals, like beyond those, which like they used a beautiful combination of like the stripped down approach and like really wild approach, and then other things where it's just like the lighting goes really wild at a moment that's really pinnacle, and like I don't know, I just thought visually they seemed to pull out every trick in the bag, but it didn't feel like they were doing too much, which is hard
Like it didn't feel
to do.
it didn't feel gimmicky to you.
Exactly. I don't think it felt gimmicky. I think it all served what they were trying to do. Each moment had proper rhythm for it. I think it moved pace-wise like really beautifully.
As I read on I don't know if this is true because it was on the IMDb trivia page, but apparently Michelle Yeoh's character was supposed to be Jackie Chan.
I was actually going to bring up the cast and just like how thrilled I was about every single person involved, especially Michelle Yeoh, Stephanie Hsu, and Jamie Lee Curtis. I mean,
oh my God, I
also
loved
Ki-Kwan,
Jamie Lee Curtis.
The main women, like Jamie Lee Curtis freaking brought it. Like the others aside, totally, we'll get to them. But like she shocked me most because I've just seen her in a lot and I've never seen her like go to 11 like that. Like,
oh yeah,
she just was like, oh, I'm gonna wear these hot dog fingers and
yeah,
like dance around in a living room.
You
like,
think
yeah,
that
I'm all
she's
for
like
it.
this side character, and then she becomes very enveloped in the story, which is like, you know, both a metaphor of how Evelyn is like trying to get out from under this massive weight, but also just like, I don't know, I just thought, yeah, I thought she was beautifully incorporated, and like her performance, yeah, she went buck wild. I was already a Jamie Lee Curtis fan, but like, man,
yeah, she crushed it.
Yeah, you know, a lot of people wouldn't be down to look as wacky as she did in that movie with that wig and shit.
Dude,
you know.
oh, so good.
She reminded me of one of the in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Oh yeah,
The aliens, like the bureaucratic aliens.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Like everything is to a T organized. And then I thought it was really lovely that they brought humanity to her character after that later scene in the laundromat where they're just coming to like arrest her, basically, or arrest Evelyn.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about Michelle Yeoh next because, like, other than Crouching Tiger and I think like an old 007
Oh shit,
film,
she was
like,
in Crouching Tiger?
Yeah, man.
Oh,
like,
damn.
She's done several like amazing films, but I mean, I got to be honest, before seeing when I saw the trailer, it didn't register to me right away like who that was, and I had to go looking her up. But like I was just floored by her performance, like absolute contender for Best Actor for me, like next year. Like they have to nominate her.
I mean, you know, the Academy fucking hates comedies, so I would hope so.
Like,
again, I'm, you know, it's not strictly a comedy, but through the eyes of like the Academy, they would probably put it in that category because they're like, I don't know, it was funny. If it's drama, it has to be something dark.
Like, hey, it's like a diverse cast, Asian woman, you know, like they have a million reasons that they need to anyways.
Absolutely.
Aside from the fact that like she crushed it. And she even gave an interview where she talks about like getting the script, and she was like getting emotional in the interview saying like she finally got some material, like a film that she felt like I can do all this stuff. Like I can showcase how I can be funny and I can be serious and I can like be a badass fighter, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
It had to have been like, oh my gosh, this is like my dream role.
Yeah, there was just like so much depth in it, and she brought a lot of beautiful, subtlety. And yeah, her dramatic performances were as compelling as her fighting, 6 security guards single-handed. It's just, yeah.
I like when I went into the film, I didn't really know who any of the actors were, and so as I was watching her fight, I was like, man, I wonder how long she like trained for this film. Not realizing
Right. When you
like,
say that she was in Hidden Dragon, I was just like, oh, okay, so she's already kind of there,
Then
as far as this.
She's done
fight
her
choreo.
career has been doing stunts, and like there was an old clip I watched of an old film that she did. She's literally like hanging off of a truck that's swerving around in traffic. I mean, she's a stunt person through and through, on top of, being an amazing actor. So
Yeah, and she was really funny. She had the deadpan down perfectly,
I think that played into, because also in having James Hong in the film, who's been like, kind of like that, has played the typical like, the role for like what a Chinese guy would do. If you like go through his IMDb page, it's all like the same, not all the same. I don't even know enough to say that, but like for me, he was in Big Trouble in Little China, where he plays like the villain.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, lots of stereotyping in there.
Yeah, he's just probably played a lot of stereotypical roles, and I think I think that the directors wanted to use like some of that for the overall like. I mean, the film was very like pop culture heavy. The way that there was references in there I was reading later when there's things they were referencing that I wasn't even catching. That I was like, oh yeah, they're just really leaning into the overall like the writing of the film, the story, the jokes, and then to have these actors in it, that were over time kind of playing these types of roles and then getting a chance to like refresh it, which I wanted to segue to something else, but we could get to that later if there was more to, because we're talking about the actors right now.
Well, speaking of the references, like I felt strong references throughout the film to like others. Did you guys feel like the famous Evelyn universe was like Wong Kar-wai inspired? Like In the Mood for Love.
Oh yeah, I could see that for sure.
Did you guys feel that at all?
I haven't seen that one, so. Did you guys catch the Lion King reference?
Refresh me.
Gong Gong says, the father says, "You deliberately disobeyed me."
Oh, does he really? Oh
yeah.
Man, I missed it.
And I was watching it with Cooper. Me, Cooper, and Dylan went and saw it. Me and Coop both like looked at each other and laughed because,
that's awesome.
Definitely, yeah.
Something else I wanted to bring up to that point too is that like with all the referential stuff, and specifically the Ratatouille, the Ratatouille.
Oh my God, yeah, I was just thinking about that.
That to me, like, that would have been like a one-off joke that would have just been like a funny thing and then forget about it. And then they made it like they gave it really emotional importance and relevance like throughout the movie. I was like, oh, that's like just great. Because I mean, I feel like
I think that's their version of setup and punchline. Like it was literally a throwaway joke that her husband couldn't remember the proper movie title or what it was about, and then like they give it long enough that you forget about it, and then it comes back as like a big part of the film at a point.
Because I would feel like, oh, let's not do pop culture references. It's cheap, and then it gives the movie like it sticks it to this time frame. It doesn't make it timeless if you're like referencing things from like a specific date. It feels like cheap to me, and then but the way they did it is just like it's like great. It's like absurd comedy to like at a level I wouldn't have even thought to do it.
It's like nothing goes unused. They like every bit that they wrote they were revisiting, and like it felt like, oh, we can add to this. We can make something more out of it. I don't know about you guys, but I saw it in a theater with only a few other people, but like everybody was roaring.
Oh yeah, I had a good audience.
Even at parts at like the rocks where they're just rocks and they're chatting back and forth, like people were loving it.
See, like how they could make a static shot of two rocks on a cliff funny with only subtitles, I thought that was great. Like people were laughing as the text came up on screen, and I was like, this is a unique experience. That's not something I've really seen before. And then of course, even that scene turns emotionally resonant. It's like, how do you manage that? A couple rocks with googly eyes on them.
Yeah, because I think a lot of things in the film felt like new and fresh and like we haven't like seen before. And what I like walked away from it feeling like so just happy that this film exists, because like it kind of shouldn't. Like if not for A24, I don't know who else would put up $25 million for this script.
Holy
not
shit,
that
was
it
that
doesn't.
the budget?
I did not realize that.
By the way, that it doesn't warrant that money.
Oh,
but
absolutely.
The fact that it is a total risk in doing, like it just warms my heart to see like original, unique films being made that take risks, because I worry that as the industry moves forward, we're seeing less of that. There's more people concerned with losing their money, and
100%.
like they don't want to take risks. They just want to, bet on sure things.
I mean, no disrespect to like Marvel movies at all. People should enjoy what they enjoy. I'm not going to be like, whoa, but you see the release schedules of those, and it just starts to look like a manufacturing schedule. Where it's okay, we have this, then this, then this. It's like so wildly planned out that and they're raking in money from that. So yeah, it's been a lot of that, a lot of reboots, a lot of stuff that's like a sure thing. So I agree with you. I was like, I left the theater just feeling so happy that like just pure bizarre imagination could be, could be given a chance, could be elevated to the level that they were given the opportunity to. And, I just keep coming back to that, just being like, it's so refreshing to see, big swings and just like extreme imagination that doesn't really feel the need to justify itself. And I think that's excellent,
I do wonder if all the meta shit of the Marvel universe made it like easier to pitch, that because Marvel does that, it's like, that's like it's like people are primed for it.
Right. The concept of the metaverse.
Russo brothers produced it.
Multiverse.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, well, there
Which
you go.
is funny in itself.
Wait, are the Russo brothers like Marvel producers?
Yeah, they did the big films, Infinity War and Endgame.
Oh,
They,
shit.
among
The
others.
big ones. Yeah. Well, that was a good get, because this needed a lot of everything. And, that's probably extremely helpful.
Yeah, I mean, I could imagine that, because the film itself is so big in scope, having them on there to help guide it. They've obviously overseen some huge productions, so.
Yeah, exactly. They know exactly what is needed for a lot of these things, so.
Yeah.
But
But also in a funny opposite way, in that Everything Everywhere was like scrappy, and they had like a team of 5 people, like we were saying, doing the effects, whereas Marvel films have lists of dozens of VFX artists.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
also, like, I just want to call back to the use of scrappy there. This is a shout out to everyone that's not in the film industry. $25 million is a lot, but in movies, you're always running into limitations regardless. And for a movie, you're just like, I don't know, the amount of money that goes to just food alone is unreal. So a lot of people be like, 25 million is not scrappy. And while technically correct, it's no The Witch that was made on, I don't know, 2 million? I have no idea.
yeah, true.
It's nothing like that, but it needed more. And with those higher needs comes higher costs. And for what they made, 25 million is like, it's not as much as one would think.
Yeah. I mean, if you take the concept of the film, like, as a whole in mind, and you're saying like, oh, we're going to jump through dozens of locations. We're going to have, clearly dozens of actors, heavy fight sequences, heavy VFX. They had over 500 VFX shots on this. I mean, that's a shit ton. And when I say scrappy too, it's based on these interviews like by the Daniels who talk about, for instance, one of the scenes where Evelyn is flying through all the universes into the janitor's
that's exactly
closet.
what I was thinking.
Like that shot, I think it was Daniel Kwan talked about when he knew that he had to do that, when they knew that they were going to do that part of the film. Before they even started principal photography, he would just carry around like a 4K camera with him, and he would walk down like interesting hallways, interesting city streets, like just to record. And that's how they stitched it together. They just used, there was no like crew.
I didn't know that.
Him.
That's amazing.
Yeah, man. So
and that's the scrappy there. He's not getting paid for doing that.
Exactly.
He was just like in it for the love. And I just looked it up just for fun. Production budget on Avengers Endgame is $400 million. So just to give a sense of scale, really pathetic. They make it up by paying VFX workers pennies.
I imagine that the VFX got really intense with 5 people and 500 shots. There was, after seeing the film, I don't know where I would even start.
Yeah,
But
that's
I
like
guess they
labor
were-
of love shit right there. Like you'd
Yeah,
have
man.
no other way to achieve that.
I think they finished. They talked about they had one, like the pandemic kind of like the like limitations of the pandemic took effect when they had like one shot to do, but then they just got to spend the rest of the pandemic editing, which what
I
a
think I
great
watched
project to
that
hunker down with.
I watched that same interview. I think they talked about they had one shoot day left.
Yeah,
There was like one thing that they didn't pick up, and they had to shoot Ki Kwan and Michelle Yeoh like they were at different countries. Like Michelle was like in Paris, and Ki was somewhere else. So that there's like a wide shot of them in their like vehicle together, and they're not actually together. You know, they did like the split screen, and they did a stand-in and all this stuff.
Oh man,
It's
that's
just
amazing. People bemoan VFX a lot, but they don't realize how many invisible VFX like really make things happen. You know.
so many.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like Wolf of Wall Street has 1 billion invisible VFX shots, and you would have no idea. You know, it's like stuff like that. And yeah, putting 2 people in a car that physically could not be at the time, like that's wild. I did not know that. I've never been on a
Well, yeah, if it's
podcast.
like-
I didn't realize you guys did a lot more research than me. There's a lot more BTS
Dude, have you even
going
ever
down.
seen this film, man? Like,
I watched.
dude, I
think me and
Wayman.
Aaron watched the same 3 YouTube
Yeah.
videos before we jumped on this call.
yeah, it was very, very small amount of research.
Yeah. I just saw a thing on Instagram where it was like the last shoot day was them shooting those rocks, and it was like 115 degrees, and they had like 5 people just like pushing the rocks around with this little like shovel thing to make them move and stuff. You know, that's pretty scrappy.
As far as the cinematography is concerned, obviously, you know, Taylor, you being a DP, I'm like interested in your take on this. They did a lot with the camera in this. I mean, they switched aspect ratios.
They shot the whole movie with a camera. So
They did. They shot.
That's
I
not
think,
true.
the
I just want
entirety
to
of
step
it.
in and say, actually, half of this was hand-drawn animation. You just don't know. It's so good.
there actually is a quick hand-drawn animation scene. So
Yeah,
That's
I
right.
know. I
That's
kind of
right.
wanted that to last a little bit longer because you see it in the trailer, and I'm like, oh shit, she goes into like an anime world, and I kind of wanted to
Yeah.
see more of that, but like, you know, it didn't bother me. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think the best thing I
what
could
camera?
say.
What lenses did they shoot it on?
I don't
Those
give
primes?
a shit anymore. I don't care. People really have gone overboard
No.
caring about the specifics, and I'm just like, you know
But
what?
do you know?
No.
Can you tell what glass?
Panavision. It's C series. No, that's anamorphic. Doesn't matter. But
I just want to get some jargon out of you.
I mean, I could, but I don't. I didn't look it up. I used to be able to go off on the technicals of things, and then it brought me less and less joy over time. And I was like, you know what? Everything that is available on multiple levels achieves a lot of the same things, and the differences are fairly minute. They're important, but minute. But you know. I just thought that I was going to say the best thing I can say about this is that I was just so engulfed. I wasn't picking apart visuals whatsoever. It's such a ride. And yeah, I thought it was amazing. They threw all the techniques in from, like you were saying, Aaron, homage to other films and media to, you know, different aspect ratios that they moved into to kind of sell that effect a little bit more. Like when they're in the snowy forest, it goes widescreen to kind of harken back to those classic kung fu movies. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think the best thing that I can ever say about cinematography in a movie is that I didn't notice it, you know. I noticed how beautiful and amazing all of the things were presented, but they were presented exactly how they should have been, I thought. I thought there was nothing that jumped out to me as a gimmick. And I think that's extremely hard, especially when you're covering as much ground as they did. I thought that it was wonderful how they mixed up the visual language between these places. Like when we're in the future, in that raggedy van, where all those the people are like doing illegal jumps basically in order to help like defeat this villain in their time. That to these like smooth shots of the kung fu scapes, the kind of National Geographic style. I guess more kind of Planet Earth style of like the rocks on the cliff, it wasn't anything more than it needed to be. And I don't know. The lighting was phenomenal. The lighting effects were not overused. They signaled important moments really, really well and enhanced everything. And it didn't feel like it was trying too hard. And I think that's like the best job you can do in a lot of positions in movies is to not be noticed by the audience. And coming from, you see filmmakers see these things and you just get totally, I was driving myself nuts when I first learned a lot of cinematography, like language and everything like that, because I couldn't focus on the movies. And so I think if it goes unnoticed and it yields a great effect, then it's exactly what it's supposed to be. And that's a wild accomplishment for something that's so flashy. It never felt like the flash was unnecessary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think to your point is like things can be flashy and wild and like a kaleidoscope of fun and excess, but as long as its only purpose is to continue drawing you in, then the job is accomplished.
Absolutely.
Like it's I think that's what I enjoyed the most. Even the parts that I felt like were excessive, it never took me out of, and it was rare that it did. There were some mini montages where flipping through universes that was like, I was like, man, if I was epileptic, this would be a problem.
That is true. That's a warning to everyone epileptic. This movie is not for you.
Yeah. I'm almost surprised they wouldn't have to like
have a
say
warning.
that. I don't know. I feel like that shouldn't.
That is,
I don't know. Like,
at this point, it does feel like that should be. But where would you put it? There's like not a lot of avenues for those kinds of things.
just like right in the beginning, like
Right.
you know how things are rated like R or just be rated E.
No, you just put a watermark statement at the bottom of the whole film.
Yeah, I think that's the best way.
We are not liable for your seizure. Get out
But yeah,
now.
I mean, they did certain. I think one of the standout visual effects that I think was extremely, it's in your face, but also extremely effective in communicating what it's supposed to be, is when there's the cracked glass in front of the frame, and then multiple versions of herself moving in the same way, and like that kind of like an extremely hard to communicate thing of being multiple places at once in multiple universes. I thought that was just like so simply and beautifully pulled off. I think that's a really great example of something that's, if handled poorly, would be distracting or take you out for a moment, but in that moment it just like it communicated so perfectly. And yeah, looking back, I'm just looking up some stills right now because I forgot a lot of it because there's so much in it. But yeah, I think the color palette of that scene where she's an actress, especially in that alleyway, is very Wong Kar-wai with the green tones, the kind of like a little bit grimy tones. That's like definitely something that would be from a Wong Kar-wai film.
But what do the tones represent, Taylor?
Green. Growth, healing. Actually,
There's no wrong. These are all correct answers.
It's actually crazy. Okay, so I just looked up a Vanity Fair article, and it talks about all the film's homages. And
oh shit, send that to me. Yeah, I would love to see what they did.
Did you guys recognize that the guy the BDSM guy, the sub, was one of the directors?
Yeah.
No, that's great.
I'm pretty sure that's Daniel Scheinert.
Yeah, it was.
Oh,
and
man.
Daniel Kwan is in it too, but I forget exactly who he played.
Yeah, just looking back on this, I'm remembering how every actor had to really like bring it because they played different versions of themselves through different realms. Like even her elderly dad, he takes on a totally different tone when someone jumps into him. I thought that was really something else.
But for me, the strongest there was Ki Kwan, because he had to play, he plays this like lovable, like kind of just passive dude in the regular world, but then he does this Alpha Wayman where he becomes this total badass, and seeing those transformations were like awesome to me. I thought that was done so well.
I agree. Yeah, that flip was
In
like
one of
really
the-
well done.
Yeah, in one of the interviews I was watching, he talks about because he got a directing coach or an acting coach. He got like an acting coach, like a voice coach, and like a body language coach separately. And like Alpha Wayman was an eagle, and like regular Wayman was like a squirrel. And he said he would just pretend to be like a squirrel, like around his house to get into like to pick up the body language.
Oh man,
Also,
that's
dude, some
funny.
of those like people slamming into the ground or like doing flips and hitting the ground, like those were fucking gnarly. I was like, holy, like it didn't seem, I don't know, just the way people like hit the ground, like the impacts, like the physical impacts were like on another level.
Right, yeah,
Well,
exactly what we were saying is like you just really feel it in this movie because they don't do too
Yeah.
much.
That's a shout out to Marshall Club. Marshall Club is a YouTube group that like is like dedicated to like making like really cool martial arts shorts. And the Daniels found them and contacted them like years ago about this, and they sent them the script and were like, we want you guys. In fact, a few of the security guards that come out at the IRS building like are the guys from the Marshall Club.
Oh, that's cool.
So they were like trained stunt guys. Obviously, you can tell by the fight, but yeah, man, they're just like martial arts like dudes who love creating badass fight scenes, and they like worked alongside the Daniels to do that.
And they were
was-
on YouTube before that?
They're like a YouTube group. Yeah, you can look them up, Marshall Club.
See,
And,
I mean, this is just like the future, as far as I'm concerned, like coming from all different directions and people given these big opportunities because people just happen to be fans of them, I think that's really amazing, Not just
Yeah,
taking from
absolutely.
the pool that's already been established, but just being like, these guys know what they're doing. Let's bring them on.
Yeah, totally.
So you start your YouTube channel and you
Yes.
might get discovered. Another reason.
You might get $25 million to make a feature. That's a lie.
Listen,
I'm
we've
so
been
sorry.
if there's more praise we want to give this film, I do have one criticism that might go away in a second watch, but
Bring it
I do
on.
have one thing where I was like, okay, this is one thing where it's like I'm not in love with this right now.
I have some as well. I'm interested to hear yours.
Mine was I forget at which point of the film it kind of started, but like to me the ending dragged. There were so many emotional peaks and valleys where it's like, and we're all learning the lesson, and everyone's learning the lesson of the film, but now doubt sets back in, and now we're all going to learn the lesson again. We're all holding on to keep her going from into the bagel, but then there's doubt again, and it just kept doing that. And I was like, when are they going to learn their fucking lesson already? And maybe on a second watch.
I
it would
mean,
make
I
more
hate
sense.
to agree with you, but you're dead on.
And maybe because the film is so chaotic, and because if we're pretending that if we're gonna accept that these characters are as grounded as we say they are, it would require this extensive conversation that is not just so neatly wrapped up in what you'd expect a film to do. Like, if this is real, then this is what's required. But yeah, I was like, all right, come on, let's go.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there was a point that
they-
it started dragging for sure.
They definitely reached a point. I don't know what it was, but they reached a point in the film where I think the audience was like, "Okay, we're ready for Evelyn's like redemption."
Exactly.
And then she didn't go there, and it was like, "Okay, we're ready for Evelyn's
Right.
redemption."
It's like this is so clearly the avenue that you should be taking. And it's not
Yeah.
in a way that makes it more interesting, It's just I think Vinny nailed it by saying like, yeah, it just goes to a point where you think, oh, here it is, and then it's like, no, wait, why not? You know,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think that could have been built up a little bit differently. Because
Well,
it just
but
seemed
they
to be
have,
going
like,
back and forth.
there's so many, like, I mean, the relationship between Evelyn and Wayman and Evelyn and her daughter. There's like a lot of fractures, and then Evelyn and her father. There's, I guess, like a triangle of fractured relationships, and it's like they wanted to, each one had to be wrapped up in their own individual way because they're all individual problems. So, and I don't know, I don't remember if that's exactly how it went, but I mean that's what makes sense.
I mean, I
saying
think
that
that's an
now,
interesting
first watch.
point, especially because like all of these relationships are different, but I think still the main theme that binds them together is that intergenerational trauma that's just being furthered in the beginning of the movie, and yeah, I think it was kind of interesting in that all those relationships needed to be repaired in different ways, which I think is very similar to real life. You can't really just like all come together for a group hug and have it all be
And
good.
also, there's like multiple, because that scene where they're all holding Joy, when the whole family's coming together to hold Joy from going into the bagel. It's like, oh, this is the moment where the whole family comes together. But those are the alpha versions. Those aren't the regular versions. So it's like those characters didn't necessarily need redemption. The other characters in the real, quote unquote, real universe did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I think the point is that they're all the same pieces of the same pie, you know, which I think is
aligned across the universes.
Yeah, and I do
Yeah.
love that conceptually. I think about that all the time, where each decision leads you down a different path and essentially creates, you know, no matter how benign the decision can create an alternate timeline for you, and who knows if there's a timeline where each of us made different small decisions and appeared drastically in different directions, because that shit happens in life, really. And I thought that was... So I think that they still had the care for it, but I mean, I think you have a good point about the alpha versions are mainly just trying to avoid meta-universal destruction. So they had a little bit of different motivations.
There's a lot. I mean, it's like you said, it's like intergenerational trauma, but then also this grand question about life that because, you know, this is all we have, it's like everything matters and nothing matters all at the same time. And it's like coming to terms with that moment to moment. And that's a big enough concept to talk about as well. And then, then layering that on with interpersonal drama as well. It's a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I think all things considered, they tackled some extremely complicated things, both in the sci-fi realm and just the, you know, human realm of things.
Yeah.
And it's a bit of a marvel that they didn't, no pun intended, that they didn't like totally fumble it. I mean, I think these are fairly minute criticisms for how much that they were successfully handling, you know, but they're still valid, obviously.
My criticisms were just going to be going back to critiques. They were just going to be what you had mentioned, Vin. Is those are my concerns. Is just that I never want to be one to be like, you know, be a third party editor and be like, well, they should have cut this and that. But from your point, Vin, I did walk out of it feeling like, in no particular reference to any scene, I did feel like, man, that would be the best movie ever made if they trimmed 20 minutes out of it. And again, do I know if 20 minutes really could be cut out of it? I have no idea. But I did feel like towards the end of it, I was like, man, we're getting so many peaks. And like, it felt like rather than enjoying the ride for almost the entire movie, towards the end, I was being like forced up and down on these like emotional bumps, and I just wanted to be like, but dude, I'm ready for it, you know?
Yeah.
And they weren't letting me.
I mean, it's always a compliment when someone's like, oh, that was that long? Man, I didn't feel like it. But that film got to a point where I was like, I'm feeling
You
how
feel
long this
it a
film is
little
right now.
Yeah, you feel it a little.
That said, though, I think one of the things that is a major criticism I have generally is when people are like, oh, it was great except the ending sucked. And I'm like, that fucking matters more to me than the majority of the movie. And I think that they stuck this landing super well. I think like even though it dragged, it had a very satisfying ending to me. I just thought, and I think that's so difficult and so important. And I with those criticisms did not come to the front of my mind walking out, even though, I think that it could have lost 20 minutes somewhere. I have no idea where, but like, that drag definitely was felt. But that the stick in the landing is like, I thought that was, applause worthy.
Yeah, no, you're dead on there. I thought it was perfect. I will say that it was funny to me how they broke up the film, whether it was intentional or not.
Oh, right. I forgot.
Chapters, because I literally felt like the audience kind of sigh with me when they did the third chapter and All at Once came on, because I think everybody in their mind was like, wait, is this going to be as long as the other chapters?
Right. It's like, wait,
That's
I thought that we were
probably
already
why-
at the All at Once.
Yeah,
I think that's exactly why I felt how long the movie was, because
Absolutely.
I'm like, we're doing this again? Like, I got to go
Yeah.
to the bathroom, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, after a certain point in the movie, I was like, I guess they're not doing an All at Once chapter. And then it came up and I was like, oh, man, okay. So, I think that marks time in a detrimental way because, that collective sigh does sit in where you're like, hold up, we got a whole other chapter here. That really makes you feel the length. But, I'm with you on that. Thankfully, it was a much shorter chapter.
Did y'all have was there applause in the theater after it was over?
There was.
Not
wasn't
for
mine, too.
me. I think there was just too few people, though. I mean, I could tell the vibe. Most people probably liked it. I mean, everybody, like I said, everybody was laughing and engaged. But it was one of those things that I think somebody would have clapped and then nobody else would have.
They would have been. They would have been embarrassed.
It's entirely silly to do that generally, but I can't hate on the energy. I do appreciate when people show even. It's not like Daniels are sitting in the back being like, yeah, "That's right." But like, I don't know. I don't know if that's like an LA thing or what. I feel like I've experienced that a couple times in Chicago actually, but like not super often.
Yeah, I rarely have joined in. I appreciate it.
Yeah, exactly. I'll
I'm
be
like,
there
they're not
for
here.
it.
I'm like, the directors aren't here. If they were here, I'd clap, but they're not here. I'll just get up.
It could make a very funny sketch, though, to have the ending of a film and like a few people like start clapping, but then you got one guy who's like, yes, yeah, woo! And like everybody starts clearing out and looking at him, but he just keeps going. He's like, come on, give it up.
Yeah.
Like the only
leaving.
one left.
Encore.
And he bars the doors.
Leaving. I'm not going anywhere.
That would be a good sketch.
I had a question about, I was thinking about like the more like sci-fi aspects of the film and like not trying to poke holes, but as I was recalling it, I was like, wait, did that make sense? Like, so Evelyn, when they looked into the bagel, right, it's like they then experience every reality that there is at once for them, and it's like that's what kind of fractures their mind.
Right.
But then so that's one event, and then the second event is them actually entering the bagel, Like
Wait,
then
they
the
didn't
bagel
actually go all the way in, did they?
Well, no, but I'm saying that's like it's like there was an event where you gaze upon the bagel and you see the truth. And then there's the second part where the bagel shows up and they physically were, it was like, because Joy physically went inside the bagel, And I was
Right,
just
that's what
wondering,
made her like a super villain, essentially.
Well, I just feel like it was going to be, she was going to go in there and just be lost forever. And like, it was like a
I was
complete-
also trying to determine what it actually meant. I thought it was like her somehow, like, was it a metaphor for her like committing
completely
like
surrendering.
I thought it was kind of like a mass suicide across all universes type deal where she was like trying to like erase herself or something, but I could be completely wrong.
Oh, that's, yeah. I
Because
didn't,
like she the way that she like discusses it, like that she's seen everything and she's so, I mean, like the villain side of her is just so like torn down, and that was my takeaway from like what this bagel's purpose was like, I'm gonna enter it and then like, I don't know, feel no more. I don't remember exactly what she said, but did they ever really declare what happens? I mean,
No, not really. I don't think it was particularly important for the plot, And I think that's what I wasn't really too fixated on that because of the undertones of like their mother-daughter relationship, essentially. But yeah, I don't know. I think if she had entered, it would have been a destruction of the multiverse, like a black hole kind of a thing. And it was represented like a black hole. So, yeah, I mean, I think that's like that other kind of theme of the movie being that like none of this shit really matters. There's no rules. We make up these things for ourselves. And when you see that all very concretely, you're just like, well, then why exist sometimes, you know?
Was it maybe also, because now I'm having this revelation of what she said. Was it also like just her leaving? Was it also kind of like a callback to Evelyn's character, like leaving her dad because her dad said, like, I don't want you around if you marry that boy? Like, was this almost like Joy's version of saying, like, hey, I'll be out of your life, like you won't see me again?
Oh,
That's
maybe.
how bad
Yeah. Oh,
things have been
exactly.
for us.
There was definitely that parallel, and I think that was, I think the Joy character, even when she was, what was the name of the villain? Like as the villain?
It's like Jojo
Tabaki.
Jojo.
Yeah.
Tabaki.
Yeah. When she was that character, I think through these different universes, it's been established that there are these similar emotional through lines because it is the same person, even if they went a different direction. So I think, that pain that came from her mother's rejection of who she was, and like a shame for it, probably echoed through every other multiverse. And that was just kind of the, extreme level that it reached given a long enough timeline, So there was definitely that direct parallel, and I don't think that it's same with like the alpha versions of themselves trying to pull her out of it, being that there's still that kind of emotional through line. These are all the same person, even if they develop differently. And you see that also in the alleyway conversation in the famous timeline, There's still this kind of like lack of something that she's trying to chase and she just can't find it.
Yeah, that is interesting. Because I was about to like hardcore disagree with you, Taylor, and say that. But that kind of makes sense to that.
Wait, what were you going to disagree upon?
That her sadness came from her mother's rejection, whereas to me, it wasn't even a sadness. It was like a lack of being able to hold on to anything true.
I think sadness can lead to intense nihilism very quickly.
Yeah. I guess I was going to disagree with the specificity of Jobu Tabaki's sadness over Joy's sadness. Whereas
yeah. I mean, it's not necessarily the similar. It's like that rejection of her identity is not a one-off. I think that these things had been happening, and would happen through all the other timelines. You know what I mean? Does that even make sense?
Yeah. No, it does, yeah.
It's kind of a broad rejection. It's not just a rejection of her being gay, It's a rejection of her as an individual person, seeing in the history of Evelyn that her father was so quick to disown her, which is like, that's extremely painful, and it's the same exact situation. And I think that's what it's the little things each day that break people down. It's not one massive event. So I think that informed the kind of like nihilistic, destructive nature of her as Jobu Tubaki. It just amplified through all these different choices that she made to reach this one spot, because all the other alternative reality joys are, they're not the same, but they share qualities. But that one universe, it just went far enough where a very human pain turned into basically a distaste for the entirety of existence.
Yeah.
Hers and others.
I was also wondering if the followers of like the cult, like the bagel cult, who had the circles on their head. I was also wondering if they too had gazed upon the bagel, or if they had just kind of. I think they would have had to.
I don't think so, because it's determined in the movie that Seeing all those realities at once would just fry a lot of people's brains. That's what Jobu did to that one police officer that exploded into confetti. She showed him every
is that what
aspect.
she was doing?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Oh, I did not even realize that. That's
Yeah,
a good-
it's not just like a funny gag. It's it's her showing this, and it's established that they don't know if Evelyn is strong enough to withstand that. So
Yeah.
I don't think that the followers, I think that they're just like, they agree with the sentiment, but they haven't seen it, you know, just like a lot
Willing
of cults,
acolytes.
a lot of cults where it's just like, you're buying into a cult of personality. You don't necessarily see the things that they're preaching, but you believe it.
Right.
Well, all I know is I would have liked to live in the hot dog finger universe. I think it would have been fun.
Dude, that 2001 scene is hilarious.
Oh my God. Yeah. That's an excellent reference.
And they just the slow pan down to the monkey with the normal fingers, and it's like,
yeah.
that's all it
Getting
took.
beat to shit by the monkey with the hot dog fingers. Unbelievable. Yeah, just to kind of determine how that universe even formed, I thought that was really wild. And how they all are like very dexterous with their feet, because you'd have to be.
Dude, something else. See, this is like why the film deserves like a second watch. Is I was reading shit about it, and it said in the film, in the universe with the hot dog fingers, the music, like all the orchestral music, isn't played as well because they're playing with their feet.
Oh my God, I did not notice that. That's a great detail.
Yeah, me neither.
Would love to
I mean,
watch
it's that
back
kind of stuff that like I love in movies, when it's like it's a background thing, but they took time in order to develop something, develop a feeling.
Yeah.
Well, Michelle Yeoh had a really great interview where she discussed, like, I'm not going. She had said that, okay, if I take on a new role, I'm not just going to do it and just to pay lip service. You know, like, she wanted to be invested in it. And when she received the script and actually talked to the Daniels, you know, like, she could tell how passionate they were about it. And I think that is like that's a teachable lesson for any filmmaker or anybody listening who creates stuff. It's like actors in particular, but anybody that you want to work with, like, you need to believe in the material before anybody else does. If you don't believe in it, then it doesn't matter. If you're just doing it just to do it, you can't expect anybody else to bring their passion to your project, because like it starts with you as like a director, as somebody who created the project. Actors in particular are very sensitive about that, because, you know, they're often giving their whole emotional self over to whatever you have written. And so, like, how could you expect them to commit that if you haven't committed it? So
Absolutely.
I think that's a really good point.
And I think, you know, that passion, as well as treating people well, they seem like they're very like kind people, goes so far. You know, we were talking about that small VFX team. It's like if they were just doing this for a paycheck, they didn't believe in the project, then it wouldn't have worked. It just wouldn't have happened. And yeah, when you get people excited by being excited about a project, and that project is something that people have, you know, never seen before, there's no overstating how important it is to bring the love to it, and on the side note, to treat people well, being on the crew side of things versus the above the line. It can very easily go badly if people just aren't treating people like people, and that's really important, along with that passion, because then people will be on your side, and ultimately you need a massive crew of people to be on your side in order to do this thing, at least to do it well. You know, there's so many stories of abused crew out there, and it's just like, you're not going to get good things out of people by abusing them in any kind of way. You treat people like humans, and you just see how far it goes.
Did you see the performance Kubrick got out of?
Yo, I'm just going to say this on the record. Fuck Stanley
think of her.
Kubrick. Shelley Duvall's life was
hot take.
ruined. I love
Chili.
his movies, but I think that the methodology was just complete nonsense. Doing 100 fucking takes of something is absurd. That's a lack of planning and a lack of understanding of what you want on the director's side, and that's dumb. People fetishize it, being like, "Oh, they did 100 takes to get it perfect." It's like, no, he ran through every type of amplification of emotion, and it's like you should have known what you needed and got that. You know, sometimes it's not so simple, but like, fuck you. You're gonna emotionally abuse somebody to get a performance out of them. You don't deserve to work in this field.
I'll agree with that.
Yeah, I will absolutely agree with that. As a director, knowing that it is a crutch to lean on, that the ability to do multiple takes, and it should definitely be in your best interest to figure out what you really want and not just say like, because growing up is actually, I learned that lesson, like Vinny and I, like making movies together, like stuff that was like so low stakes, and we were just like experimenting. Like this was pre-film school. We didn't even know like,
You didn't even know
how does
mise
the
en
director
scène yet,
direct?
dude.
Yeah, exactly. And so, it was just us being like, okay, say it a different way, like, oh, add this inflection and stuff. I mean, like, you learn later, like, you need to come with all that prepared. But at the time, Vinny and I were just like, we want to get as many takes in the can so that we can, like, edit it and find the best
It was the
versions.
worst way. We taught ourselves the worst way. It was like, doing multiple takes and like just straight up giving each other line reads. Like, say it this way. Say
But
it exactly this way, dude.
But that was like all
do-
we had. Like, we didn't know any better, It was
Yeah,
like
I
we were
do want to
teaching
come
ourselves.
to the defense of anybody who's just starting out. In that is a valid means of, if it's you and people that care about the project or care about developing and you're just still learning, I don't think that that's a bad thing. I just think that you got to kind of figure it out. But once you're on the scale of something, say The Shining or anything like that,
Yeah.
you're just wasting
Yeah.
people's time. You're draining people's energy. You're making people less excited to work on this thing when you waste time and money like that. And, but when it's low stakes, like experiment your heart out. There's a lot, Daniel's clearly have done that in the past just to see what works and what doesn't for them. And then, when you're on the big stage, you don't want to be doing that stuff because it's just poor. It's just poor form. And it takes an extreme toll on the cast and the crew, and it just sets a bad precedent. But, when you're starting out, everyone's got nothing but time. Go for it. Like, play around. Try every type of thing. And don't try to hold yourself back based on what you think is supposed to happen or whatever. And also on that note, cut your losses when something's just not working, and then try to figure out why it's not working later.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. How is everybody feeling? I feel like we tackled the film pretty well. I mean, like I've said all I can say on it until I see it a second time. That's for sure.
Same. I'm out. I'm tapped on this
Yeah,
movie.
I'm sure there's more that film is so packed full of information. It's like, I don't know. I need my brain needs like 3 days to like properly stew before.
It's wall to wall. Like y'all talking about certain things. I was just like, oh yeah. Oh my God, I forgot so much about that movie because there was so much happening. But I mean, I think it was effective in that I remembered the main through line of it. The details are fun, but they serve that through line. And I thought that that's really what sticks in my mind, as well as the huge level of imagination and like complete disregard for, I think, what people are expecting out of a movie. Not in a bad way, but in a way that they made function very well.
Go get your expectations subverted.
Go get them smashed and shattered.
Smash those. Yeah. Well, cool. This was like an absolute blast reliving this via the podcast, and I can't wait to see it again. And everybody listening, you should go check it out too, because I believe this should be hitting theaters. At least it just hit theaters in Ohio.
Yeah, it's
so
wide release now.
Yeah.
If any
there you go.
AMC theaters you go to, give them promo code Fonecallz, and they will look at you sideways. They'll look at you like, "What are you talking about?"
Very confused.
And then just walk
Yeah.
past them confidently. That's really all you need to do.
Yeah.
Promo
And
code
you-
Fonecallz.
Actually, a good tip. No, I'm not gonna. Well, okay. I heard is that if you just carry a ladder into a movie theater, no one will ask for your ticket. Just look like you work there. Look like a
great
maintenance
idea.
person, I should say, because you're not gonna have
Yeah,
the
you gotta
AMC
have, like, a-
uniform. You get yourself a jumpsuit and get a ladder. Go see a movie.
Put it in the bathroom. Take it to the bathroom. Leave it there.
Yeah,
Put,
it's-
put like a don't put a slippery when wet sign around it so no one touches it.
yeah. Make sure you
No,
bring
you
the slippery
take
when
it-
wet sign too.
You take it all the way to the top seat. You take it to the top row, and then you sit in front of the projector and you do shadow puppets over the movie the whole time.
That's the real hack.
That's
yeah.
the hack. All right, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you on the next one.
I won't.
We won't
but
see
enjoy.
you because this is just
Yeah.
audio. But
You'll hear us. Okay, bye.
bye.
Bye. Thanks for having me.
It's Phone Calls.